So not too long ago, I made a post, a long form post on Patreon, and I did a shorter one on Instagram and all the other social media regarding carrying a handgun with you when you're in the woods all the time. How the benefits of carrying a handgun outweigh the cons to carrying a handgun when you still have a carbine. Obviously, if you're day to day, just going about your business day to day, you're gonna always want to carry a handgun. But when you have the option to carry a carbine, still carrying a handgun. You can check that out. Like I said, I did kind of a shorter version on Instagram and social media and stuff if you don't want to join the Patreon. But the number one concern for most people with carrying a handgun is that they say they don't want to carry a belt with a ruck. And in my experience, the number one reason why you wouldn't want to do that is just if you kind of have a belt setup that doesn't cater nicely to a ruck setup. So what I mean by that is that you have your three lines of gear, is that you have your belts, your chest rigger plate carrier, and then your ruck. And those three things should be built upon being used with everything else in the system, in my opinion. So this is going to kind of demonstrate a couple different belt setups that cater to this, and then how you can integrate everything to work nicely even when you need to walk a long distance. So this is the first belt setup. Both of these belts are going to be AWS SMUs. I'll put a link in the description. I think that AWS makes a phenomenal belt, and for an inner-outer belt setup like this, you really can't beat it. And even if you don't want an inner-outer belt setup, like for me, sometimes in the winter I don't want to have that because of all the layers. You can buy obviously padded inserts and stuff that works, so that way you can just hook it on and run it as just an outer belt. So the belt setup itself is pretty simple. I got two magazines up front for a different handgun than I have in this. A flapped magazine pouch for my rifle. This is from Spiritus Systems. This is the Liberty Dynamics flashbang pouch, and I like the flap because obviously you can retain it nicely if you're going through the woods quite a bit. But this one with the elastic on the sides, you have the ability to tuck the flap and run a magazine pouch with sort of that passive retaining from the stretch on the sides. Beyond that, just a pretty small AWS dump, and honestly I use it more to carry water bottle or small notebook, or if you're gathering supplies for camp like kindling and birch bark and all that stuff. I keep the back pretty slick. I don't put an IFAK on my belt itself generally, but I use ferro roll one so I can put it on the back if I need to, right alongside here. Here I have a boxer blades knife that's on a blade tech, so I can take it off if I need to. This is going to be the only thing this belt setup that's going to interfere with a ruck potentially, and there's ways to get around that too. But you can take your knife off if you have one of these blade tech locks. I have a handgun in a True North modular holster adapter, and this one's on a lower ride. I don't have the leg strap on it because I lost a screw last time I used it, and the first time I used it. And then this is just a ferro admin that I put on the front. I just kind of slid it here so I could take it off if need be, but having a little bit of admin space here for even just carrying gloves or small beanie, net gaiter or whatever, or phone or documents or whatever is pretty nice. So this is the first belt setup that I have. So this is the second belt setup, also an AWS SMU. Same thing, S-Tac Kiwis in the front for pistol mags. I don't currently have in here. This is just a ferro elastic magazine pouch. This is not flapped, and it sits a little bit higher because with the flap, obviously your magazine sits lower. With this one, it sits a little bit higher, so this is currently the highest thing on the belt and the number one thing that'll get in the way. So when you start looking at belt setups, having too many things above the belt line is going to be what causes your issues. And that, a tactical tailored multi-tool pouch. And then coming back around, same thing, pistol holster. This is in a regular Safariland mid-ride. The holster itself is a Midwest Tactical Solutions Enforcer 2. It's got level 2 retention with this little hood. And then up front here, I have another S-Tac horizontal. So the horizontal mag pouches come in handy when you start putting stuff on the belt because you don't have a whole lot of things up top like this. And then if you don't want to just have flat mag pouches all around, you can do something like this, and then it stays pretty low profile, especially in your front. So kind of the worst case scenario for most is having to carry a plate carrier and a ruck, and then integrating a belt into that. So a lot of people generally will say that if you're carrying a ruck that you should carry a chest rig. Honestly, if your mission dictates that you're going to need to carry a ruck to get to your location, then that's what it dictates. And if your enemy dictates that you're going to need to carry plates and everything, then that's what your enemy dictates. Those two things are separate. And if you're going to an area to, engage an enemy, and it's a couple days away that you need to hike or do like some sort of long-term offset infill, then you're going to need to carry a ruck with your body armor. That's just the way that it is. Kind of a worst case thing. Marines have been doing it forever. So if you can run something like this with your carrier, then you can definitely run it with a chest rig where everything's a little bit slicker on the sides and you can hike it up a little bit more. Obviously with a plate carrier, you can't hike it up too far just because, your plates take up space. So I'll go into the first belt setup and then the second, integrating between first and second line. So this is the first belt setup. Once again, with the flat mag pouch, it sits quite a bit lower. And if you flap it, obviously it's gonna sit, or it's gonna be retained with it sitting lower. So this is just above the belt line. The belt ends right here, and then maybe an inch up is the actual top of the mag. Everything here is pretty low profile, even though I have a dangler and everything. I mean, I got space between my carrier and my actual belt itself, and this is gonna help me to integrate a ruck between the two. So this is the first setup with my plate carrier, my belt, and then a Mystery Ranch 3-day. I put the hip belt on just for demonstration purposes. Obviously, this is sort of downloaded a little bit. I took a bunch of stuff out. So yeah, anyway, with this, you can still access your magazines here. You can access your pistol mags here. You still got your dump. And then moving to your side here, you still have your handgun that you can draw. Obviously with the leg strap, this wouldn't be flopping around, but you can make a full draw with a ruck and a hip belt on it. And then in the front here with the admin, it does sort of conflict a little bit and I can't actually see it, but if I need to, I can unzip it, reach into it, grab what I need, and zip it back up. So everything on this belt works with a 3-day. So here's the second belt setup, the multicam black one with the open top mag pouch and then the 3-day. So this one has a mid ride, so it's a little bit higher than the low ride, and you can still obviously draw easily, put your pistol back in, access all your mags, get your rifle mags out, and you can access all this stuff fairly easily with a 3-day on. So this ruck itself is gonna let you carry quite a bit for a multi-day if it's in warm weather, or if you're not carrying a whole lot of sustainment gear and you're just dealing with the cold at night. So obviously with the Mystery Ranch, your hip belt here is thinner. So even if you have open top mag pouches that sit a little bit higher off the belt line, you can still slide your hip belt behind the magazine where it doesn't take up much space. Plus with these elastic mags, there's a little bit of flex in them versus something that's real rigid, like a taco or whatever. Actually, no, taco would have the flex. Something that's more rigid. So, and then obviously you can still access your horizontal mag if you needed to. So this is one setup that also works with a 3-day. All right, so this is with a Crossfire DG3. Obviously, once again, it's not packed up all the way, but with the external frame and everything, it's a little bit bulkier against your back, and I can't adjust the height on it, even if it's not full. So with this, same thing, mag pouch. So with the flex, it sticks out a little bit more with the padding. Is it a problem? No, I can still draw a mag if I need to and seat it. And obviously I still have my mags up front. And with the pistol here, I can draw and reholster it without a problem. This whole setup still works with DG3. It rides right on my belt line, so right on my hip. It doesn't sit above it. It doesn't have anything weird that I need to worry about. And my hip belt sits higher. So the way that I wear a hip belt and the way that you're really supposed to is to where the weight sits on top of your hips. So with this, you kind of have the taper of your waist, and that's right where it sits. So my hip belt sits right over my belly button. This allows you to carry everything on your belt line because it's still completely clear. I still have pistol mags, rifle mag. I can still access my multi-tool, another rifle mag, and pistol pretty easily. I could walk like this all day, and even though this has pressure on it, it's going to rub on the hip belt itself instead of on my side. So if I had it to where the rifle mag was underneath the hip belt, then obviously that could cause problems. But this is a pretty easy way to wear a full line 3, 2, and 1 all fully integrated into each other, that you can ditch the ruck and do your actions on the objective with all your gear and still have protection that you would need. So finally, back to the initial Coyote belt setup. With this, same thing, have a ruck on. It doesn't interfere. So here's my flat mag. Obviously, like you can see, it sits a little bit lower. So the hip belt sits right above it. If I want to utilize the flap for extra retention and to protect the mag and my belt from each other, it does that and it doesn't really interfere. If I'm walking all day, it's not going to cause a problem. Right here, handgun, can draw with the leg strap to retain, and no problem on that. Access to all my mags. If I have pistol mags in here, same thing, no problem. They're the same pistol mags, pouches in the other one, so you'd see that. And then access to the dump right here, no problem. So like I said before, the only thing that can potentially cause a problem on this setup is the knife right here, just because it sits so high. But the way that this is sitting here is that it's not in an unnatural position to force my belt in a weird way. I can still access it, pull it off if I need to, do whatever. And I have access to all my equipment. And with something like this, if I needed to, I could pop off the knife and put it on the ruck or in a wing or somewhere else on my gear. So this is how you can wear a pistol with a plate carrier with a ruck pretty easily and make sure that all of your gear is able to work with each other.